Aces of Thunder is Gaijin's latest entry to the niche of air combat games and describes itself as the ultimate flight simulation that delivers the thrill of aerial combat and looks perfect with and without a VR headset. When I heard about the game for the first time, I was immediately hooked because I love World War II aircraft and flight simulations, but as someone who doesn't own a VR headset, simply because I get sick within minutes of using it, I was wondering if the game would even be worth playing without VR and how it would play. Because promising that the game works without VR and then actually delivering the same great experience on flat screen, that's often two different things. So in this video I'm gonna share my experience of playing Aces of Thunder solely without VR and what you should expect if you want to do the same. A quick disclosure for transparency before we start: Gaijin has sent me a code for this game so I can check it out, but this does not affect my opinion or my verdict in any way, and during this video I will point out things I liked as well as things I didn't like. And with that out of the way, let's get right in. So when starting into Aces of Thunder, you get this screen right here. You're standing in front of your airplane, the flight book in your hand, and this is essentially your home screen. Here's where you can see which planes are available in the game, and there's quite a lot of them from all factions that took part in World War II. And here's where you can do test flights, select different camouflages and decals that you can all unlock through your progress while playing. You can see your daily tasks, the leaderboard, your flight controls and your settings. If you want to freely look around, you simply hold the right mouse button and move your mouse. So far, so good. Now, the challenging part started when I went for my first test flight, because for flying the airplane, I wanted to use my HOTAS 1 instead of mouse and keyboard or normal controller, but none of the inputs did anything. So what you need to do is to head over to the control settings and set every single input manually. The game does not automatically detect the controller and does not have any preset for it, but it does work. It just takes you a bit of time, and sometimes it's throwing some rocks in front of your propeller. But the game gives you everything you need. You can set all of your axes, invert them, set dead zones, and so on. It just takes some time and a few test flights. What was more challenging though was to find settings that allowed me to look around like you would be able to when you play with a VR headset, and to find a button for all of the aircraft controls that I need during a flight. Because the problem with the non-VR controls is that you cannot click on any instrument, button, lever or anything with your mouse. You can look around with your mouse while in the cockpit, but that would mean you would have to take your hand from the flight controls. So that's nothing you really want. So I had to find a logic button for starting the engine, quickly opening the map, quickly resetting my view, and even for closing the cockpit, because in non-VR I cannot grab the handle. And this is probably my biggest point of criticism so far, that I cannot simply use the mouse as an alternative to the hand controls the VR players have. You know, similar to Microsoft Flight Simulator, where you simply click on buttons or switches with your mouse to use them. Now, at the end, I found some good settings that allow me to freely look around using the little thumbstick on top of the HOTAS, and I also found a button for all of the necessary flight controls. But overall, this whole process took me roughly an hour, about 20 minutes to set the flight controls and the remaining 40 minutes to figure out the best way to freely look around and quickly reset my view. So this is something you should definitely be aware of if you think about buying this game. You cannot really play it out of the box, especially not when you play it without VR or with a flight stick. You have to put some time into it first to do the settings, and then you can actually start playing it. However, once this was done, I was finally able to do a proper test flight, and this was a very, very cool experience, not gonna lie. Sitting in this World War II cockpit, looking around the controls, the instruments, how realistic everything looks, and then get airborne and see these stunning landscapes and theaters of war. This is where this game finally started to shine. Now, of course, the main focus of Aces of Thunder is not to just freely fly around and enjoy the view, even though you can do this, but the focus is on aerial combat, and for this experience the game offers a variety of game modes, even though it took me a moment to find all of them, because when you are on the start screen, what immediately catches your eye is the button that says to battle, and this directly throws you into a multiplayer match. So I guess that this is what the developers see as the focus for this game, but more about it in a second, because what you can find as well when you click on game modes is kind of a single player campaign that is called War Tales and will give you about an hour of introduction to the game and its different types of missions. However, there is no actual step-by-step tutorial to the game that explains how to fly the airplane and how the controls work and everything, so you should be familiar with the basics of flying an airplane. Then there are single missions that are independent from each other and are like short scenarios you can play through, which should keep you busy for, well, roughly 3 hours. And in addition to this, there is a mission editor, and this is actually my favorite part, because while the single missions are predefined in their scenarios, you can customize these missions in the editor and set your theater of war, the scenario you want to play, the time of day, the weather, and so on. And this is actually where I spend most of my playtime, because this allows me to customize these missions in any way I want to and play however I feel like. So if I want a more relaxed experience, I do some waypoint flights at dusk or dawn. And if I want a combat experience, I select one with ground or air targets or go for air domination. So if you solely want to focus on PvE combat, you can do this as well. But like I said before, the main focus of the devs seems to be on the multiplayer, otherwise they wouldn't put it right onto the start screen. Now, the problem with this is that when you join a multiplayer match via the button on the start screen, you mostly end up in games with a maximum of 4 human players and the rest is bots. And I don't know why this is happening, if there's something completely off with the matchmaking, or if there's no crossplay between PC and PS5, or if most players simply prefer the PvE modes. But this quick play experience right now doesn't have much to do with a multiplayer. Where you can find the actual multiplayer experience though is under game modes and then custom battles, because this allows you to either create your own session with your own settings or join the sessions of others. And here you can find indeed matches with up to 32 human players. So this is another point you should be aware of, that the multiplayer experience might not be exactly what you're looking for, or at least that you might not find it in the place you're looking for it, which is the to battle button on the start screen. And I gotta say that in these custom matches, I did have fun playing as well, even though I'm not pretty good when it comes to them. But I never had the feeling that I was in any disadvantage because I played the game without a VR headset. I had full control over my plane, and the free look I had set in the controls worked incredibly good as well. And this is how I spent the rest of my first evening with the game, except for about half an hour where I couldn't log in for whatever reason. And the next morning I woke up and wanted to play again, because I genuinely had fun the day before. Now, the problem with Aces of Thunder at its current state is that at its core it's not a bad game and it's quite enjoyable, but it doesn't fully deliver what it promises. First of all, it describes itself as the ultimate flight simulation. And it is quite realistic when it comes to the look of the cockpit, the instruments, the landscape, the flight behavior. When your plane gets damaged, you actually see the respective parts fly away, and this of course affects your plane's handling. And you even get an effect of your pilot passing out when you put high G-forces on them with your flight maneuvers. The game also gives you some settings that make your experience more realistic if you want to, like manually setting the trim, the mixture, and so on. But then again, you can only actually interact with a handful of buttons and levers in the cockpit and not with all of them. But this is surely something people would expect from an ultimate flight simulation. But my biggest gripe, and this is also the main point of this video, is that there are quite a few things missing for the non-VR experience. Because on their Steam page, they are specifically writing that this game runs in both standard and VR mode, and that the VR headset is optional. But then I have to completely figure out for myself how to even look around while flying, at least if I don't want to use the mouse for this, and I cannot grab anything with my mouse that I could grab when playing in the VR mode. And for a game that says VR is optional in its description, it should offer some more settings to make sure that non-VR players have a good experience as well. In addition to this, the game also feels like it's not 100% finished yet. It feels more like a game that should have been released in early access, because there is still so much room for improvements. The matchmaking, for example, that I mentioned before, an actual tutorial for new players, presets for different controllers and flight sticks, additional settings especially for non-VR players, missing features like a voice chat for your team so you can coordinate during a mission. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to bash this game, because I genuinely enjoy it. But it's really hard to actually give it a rating right now, let alone a recommendation. Because if this game is worth buying or not really depends on what you're looking for. Do you want a flight simulation with realistic aircraft behavior and a fully interactable cockpit? Then this game might not be what you're looking for. Do you expect an arcade experience that is easy to pick up and get into? Then unfortunately this game is not for you as well. It is sitting somewhere in between. It gives you some settings to push it more towards a casual or a realistic feeling, but never 100% into one or the other direction. You also have to put some time into it to make it feel right for you, and to be honest, I think if you come from, let's say, Battlefield and you like to fly jets over there, and then you think that this game might be interesting for you as well, you could be disappointed because it's not a great experience out of the box, especially not when you're playing without VR and with a flight stick. So you should either have some experience with flight simulations already, or you should at least be willing to put some time into the game to get your settings right, test them, and learn how everything works. For me, as someone who enjoys flight sims as well as tactical all-out warfare shooters, this game takes the casual experience I loved in Battlefield 1 or 5, for example, and moves it a good step into a more realistic direction. So if this is what you're looking for as well, then Aces of Thunder is worth a try. And that's it for today. If you have any more questions to the game that you want me to answer, be sure to write them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this review and you want to stay tuned for more videos like this, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.